Hi everyone, this is Mr. Souza, and today we're going to go over finding consecutive numbers given their sum. So let's go ahead and start with question one. It says, find the three consecutive numbers whose sum is equal to 60. So let's look at the keywords here. It says three consecutive numbers. So we could do blank, blank, and blank. Whose sum? Sum means addition. So we're going to add these numbers, and it says the word equal. So that's equal to 60. Now, one thing we have to consider is the word consecutive. We must know what consecutive means. Consecutive is when you have one number right after the other. For example, you could have, let's say, 7, 8, 9. Those are consecutive numbers, right? 20, 21, 22. Those are consecutive numbers. However, their sum must be equal to 60, right? So the first number, we don't know what it is, so we can assign a variable to represent that number. So let's say n. The second number is consecutive to the first, meaning it's one higher. For example, 7, 8. 8 is one higher than 7, right? So we could do n plus 1. Why n plus 1? Because the second number must be one higher than the previous number. Similarly, for the third number, we can do n plus 2 because the number is going to be 2 units higher than the first number and 1 unit higher than the second number. So once you do that, you have your complete setup, and then we can combine like terms. So we have n, change the color, n, and n. That's a total of 3 n's. And then we combine the 1 with the 2. That also makes a 3. And that's going to be equal to 60. So now that you have that, this is a two-step equation. So we need to solve in terms of n. So in order to get rid of that plus 3, you're going to do the inverse operation. So we subtract 3 both sides like this. So I'm going to continue on the right side. So now we have 3n equals to 57. And then your next step is to get n by itself by doing the inverse operation here. So instead of multiplying by 3, you're going to divide by 3, both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other one. So in this case, you're going to get n equal to 19. Okay, but we are not done here because you have to find all 3 numbers. But once you know your n is 19, guess what? You can replace n by 19 and just find the other numbers. Or just know that the 3 numbers are consecutive. So what comes after 19? That's 20. And what comes after 20? 21. Okay. And then just to be safe, you can also check if you add 19 plus 20 plus 21 in your calculator, that should give you 60. So that's how we do question number 1. Please go ahead, pause the video, and try question number 2. Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to go over question number 2. So similar to question 1, you're going to list your numbers. However, notice this time you have 4 consecutive numbers instead of 3. That means you're going to have 4 blanks. So blank plus blank plus blank plus one more blank. and that's going to add up to 46. Okay, so similar to question 1, your first number, we can just assign a variable for that, which could be n, and then your next number should be n plus 1, because again, the word consecutive, right? So it's 1 unit higher than the previous number. And then you just continue with the same pattern. Next one, n plus 2. And then finally, n plus 3. Make sure you draw your arrows so you know what each thing represent, right? Okay, so now you're going to combine like terms. So let's go ahead and combine all the n's. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4n. And then you want to combine the numbers. Let's do green. So you have 1, 2, and 3. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 makes 6. And that's going to be equal to 46. Once you have that, this becomes a two-step equation. So because of the plus 6, the inverse operation will be to subtract 6 both sides, like this. We're going to continue on the other side, right there. So we get 4n equal to 40. Again, inverse operation, instead of multiplying by 4, the inverse of that would be to divide both sides by 4. So we divide by 4, and n will be 40 divided by 4, which is 10. N equals 10. Once you know your first number, you can just go ahead and plug it in. So 10 plus 1 makes 11, plus 1, 12, plus 1, 13. And if you add 10 plus 11 plus 12 plus 13, that's going to give you 46. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and proceed to question number 3. Please pause the video and try question number 3. Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to go over question number 3. Questions 3 and 4, they are a little bit more challenging than 1 and 2. And the reason is they say 3 consecutive even numbers. So it's not going to be like question 1 and 2 where you're adding the next number by 1. So because you have even numbers, let's say 6, 8, 10, 12. Notice the pattern, we're adding by 2, correct? So for this reason, you're no longer going to add 1, you're going to add 2. So you start by writing your 3 blanks. Blank, blank, blank. That adds up to 42. So your first number is n, because again, we don't know what n is. And then we have n plus 2. Why n plus 2? Even numbers, we're counting by 2, right? And finally, n plus 4. Because again, we keep adding by 2's. So we're going to combine them like terms, similar to what we did on the previous questions. So we have 1n, 2 n's, 3 n's here. So that's 3n. And then we're going to get, let's get green. 2 plus 4, that makes 6. And their sum must be 42. Okay. So remember, if I ever go too fast, just pause the video. So we're going to continue on the other side. We have 3n plus 6 equal to 42. So your next step here is to solve this two-step equation by using inverse operation. So instead of plus 6, we subtract 6 both sides like this. And now we do 42 minus 6. That's going to give us 36. So that's 3 times n equals 36. Again, inverse operation. So instead of times 3, you're going to divide both sides by 3. And we get n is equal to 12. Once you know n equals 12, you can go ahead and plug it in. Your first number is 12. But now here's where we have to be careful. This is not just any regular consecutive number. It says consecutive even numbers. So we're counting by twos, right? Just your even numbers. So after 12, we're going to have 14. And after 14, we have 16. Okay, or I can just plug it in into the formula here as well. So n is 12, so n plus 2 must be 14 because you're adding 2 to the n. So your numbers are 12, 14, 16. So double check and be safe, you can go ahead and plug them in the calculator. And when you add those three numbers, it should give you 42. Please go ahead, try to do question 4. So go ahead and pause the video. Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to go over question number 4. Question 4 is similar to question number 3. The only difference is they're asking you for consecutive odd numbers instead of even numbers. But the concept is the same because when you're counting odd numbers, let's say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, you're also counting by twos, right? So it's the same idea. So you have your 3 blanks. This time it's going to be equal to 75. So you have n, and then n plus 2 again, because you're counting by twos. And then finally n plus 4. Once you have that, you want to combine like terms, add all the n's together. So 1, 2, 3, that's 3n. And then you're going to add your constants here. 2 and 4 makes 6. And that's going to be equal to 75. I'm going to continue on the other side. So you have 3n plus 6 equal to 75. Inverse operation, instead of adding 6, we're going to subtract by 6, both sides. So you get 3n is equal to 69. And then you want to divide both sides by 3. And you're going to get n is equal to 23. Once you have n equals 23, you can go ahead and plug it in the number. So 23 is your first number. And again, it's adding by 2. So 23 plus 2 makes 25. Plus another 2 makes 27. Notice all three numbers are odd. And if you add them in your calculator, it's going to give you 75. So 23, 25, 27. So now we're going to go ahead and complete the last part of the lesson, which is common math misconceptions. So for the last part of the lesson, one thing I would like to go over is whenever we have consecutive numbers, we must remember that it's going up by 1. So whenever you have your terms, you're going to have n, n plus 1, n plus 2, and so forth. Versus when you have even or odd consecutive numbers, we are adding by 2's. So then you have n plus 2, n plus 4, and the list goes on.